do a 2026 U.S. Senate election prediction. So we'll start right here with the consensus map. This is just kind of like the name entails, a consensus map of the polling for each state's Senate race. It puts Democrats at 47 seats to Republicans 49 before the main 4 Senate seats that are truly competitive have been called. That bit of an interesting map. Another one I wanted to take a look at is going to be the Kalshi prediction markets map. This one is more favorable towards Democrats and puts them at 50 to Republicans 49. Couple small changes. Looks like Iowa narrowed up, Kansas and North Carolina and Georgia in the likely blue column, which is a very impressive feat. This is just based on the margin of the how far to $1 a share is to buy for this prediction market for the Democratic Party or Republican Party. So that is going to be the call there. But now we're going to go to my own prediction. We're going to make sure we clean out all of these states so we can start with a blank, relatively blank map. I'll keep all of the safe states characterized, but that's going to bring Democrats to 43 to Republicans 43. Now we're going to start with the likely blue this time. And this time we're going to be doing a Democrats' best case scenario. I've done just normal election predictions for the Senate, and I will make sure to keep doing those. But for now, I thought it might be fun to do a potential Democrat best case scenario. Also, much appreciated if you could like and subscribe. I know I say it at the end of every video, but trying to get to 1,000 subscribers. Looks like I got about 4 subscribers since the last video I made, so if you guys wouldn't mind doing that, it'd be much appreciated. But now let's get to the prediction. So we're going to start out with, I've already done the likely blue state. There's really just the one. Now we're going to do the likely red. We're going to start out in South Carolina, where there's been some news recently. And I don't think that even though Lindsey Graham won't be running for this seat this November, I still think it will fairly solidly land in the Republican Party's column. I don't think that will really change depending on who the candidate is. Potentially, if there's some major scandal on either side, well, on the Republican side, it could potentially narrow up. We've seen crazier, even Alabama, with the scandal-plagued Senate race on the Republican side, resulting in a Democratic victory in Alabama, which is very impressive. That's not an easy feat. So it could happen in South Carolina, but I don't think it's the most likely scenario, which is why I'm going to put it into the likely red column. I do think a couple of these would, in a Democrat's best case scenario, would be narrowed up, but I think that may be the only one in the likely red column. Now we're going to go to lean blue. For that, we have a few. I'm going to start with the one I feel the most confident in calling, that being the state of New Hampshire. Going to put that into the Democratic Party's column, especially in Democrats' best case scenario. This state is almost certainly going blue. That's going to be the call there. And then we're going to go down to the state of North Carolina. North Carolina and Georgia, like I mentioned in the Kalshi betting markets map, are both in the likely blue columns. This is actually slightly less favorable for Democrats than the Kalshi betting markets puts it, but I do think things will in general get better for the Democrats, and that is going to be the call in those 2 crucial states. And then we're also going to go with the state of Michigan, going to put that into the lean blue column. Generally, I have the one in the tilt blue, but for now, for a Democrat's best case scenario, we'll put it in the lean blue. Another one, we have the state of Maine, going to put that into the lean blue column as well. That is going to be the second flip of the prediction in this Democrat's best case scenario. Starting out with the state of North Carolina, where a seat flipped from a Republican to a Democrat, and then the same thing happened in this hypothetical prediction in Maine, as one party flips from, as the seat flips from Republican to Democrat. And then I think that will be the end of, well, actually, no, we'll do one more, that being the state of Alaska. Going to put that into the lean blue column. And I think there will potentially be one more. I think this one is a bit of a stretch, but I think potentially in a Democrat's best case scenario that Ohio would end up in the lean blue column, but that's going to be the call there. And then the rest of these are going to either be in the lean red or tilt red. So we have Florida, going to put that in the lean red. Honestly, I could very easily see this going into the likely red column. Democrats have not performed well in Florida in recent history, and I think that This election will probably be better than it has been in the past, but I don't think it'll be anything majorly significant. So for now, I'm going to keep it in the Republican Party's column by a lean red margin. Then we have Montana. I'm going to put that into the lean red column as well. Montana, interestingly enough, had a Democratic senator 2 years ago, Jon Tester. However, he ultimately lost his re-election bid for the other Senate seat 2 years ago, and I don't think Democrats are going to be able to win this state this November. And then that means we have 3 states that I think will end up in the tilt column. We'll start with the state of Iowa. I'm going to put that into the tilt blue column in this Democrats' best case scenario prediction. The state is generally in the Republican Party's column. In prior elections, it has gone blue. It voted for Obama twice, and it'll be an interesting state to keep an eye on. There are 2.5 kind of fairly competitive House races this November in the state of Iowa that will be key to whichever party ends up controlling the House. But for the Senate election, I think in a Democrat's best case scenario, the state would go tilt blue. And then we get to the state of Nebraska. This one, even in a Democrat's best case scenario, I don't think it'll narrow up more than potentially a tilt. I still think it'll remain in the Republican Party's column. I think Dan Osborne, for when he isn't a Democrat, but he is kind of the de facto Democratic candidate, is a strong nominee. He significantly outperformed Harris in 2024. So I think he has a potential shot, but for now, I think that right now, last I checked, his odds on the prediction markets were looking at about 25%, so I don't think that will be enough. It is impressive that he's able to get it to a tilt red margin, but that's going to be the call there in Nebraska. And then finally, I've gotten a lot of comments about this state. I'm going to put Texas into the tilt blue. This, like I said, not my actual prediction. I think in the actual prediction, Texas would end up in the Republican Party's column. But I do think, Tallarico is a strong nominee, and last I checked the betting markets for this race, he was sitting at about 40-something%, which is very impressive for a Democrat in Texas. The state hasn't voted blue on the state level for a gubernatorial position, Senate, presidency, for quite a while, so it will be interesting to see what happens with Tallarico in the state of Texas, but that is going to be the final Democrats' best case scenario prediction. Don't forget to like and subscribe. Thanks. Bye.